At least I know, Shelly Dwellies. You're being silly buggers, are you? Suppose we better get on and do this live stream, haven't we, eh? What do you reckon? Should we try and pretend to be all up and lively and positive? How long do you think we can manage that for? About 5 seconds? Yeah, you reckon? Sunday shop do 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 do. Sunday shop do 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 do. Sunday shop do 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 do. Arr. Greeting, 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 salutation, ahoy. Hello. How the devil art thou? And welcome to more just random ramblings until people start turning up and chatting, and then I'll join in on the chat and we'll see where the conversation takes us. It could be a serious, in-depth discussion into fish keeping. It could just be a massive Mickey take. Yeah, we'll see where we go. So, firstly, hi replay crew. Yes. So yeah, summer has finally summed. It's that time of the year where the weather gets all horrible. There's a big flaming sphere in the sky that we're rotating around. It's just hot and bright, and I don't do hot and bright. I especially don't do hot, bright and polleny, or hot, bright, polleny and humid. I like damp, grey and dull. That's far more my kind of weather. So yeah, this week's bike ride could get a bit warm. Let's just say I'm more concerned, probably going to be more concerned about taking lots of water than taking lots of food. Let's put it that way. And I will definitely be stopping off somewhere for something nice and cold to eat. Hello, John, long time no see. Good to see you, sir. How are you? It's got to be years, I'd have thought, by now. So I know I haven't built a model in. Cool. Got to be 2 years at least, if not more. Something like that. I was just looking to see what the last ones I built were, and it was the Tamiya Spitfire and Tiger Models Terminator 2. Not the Terminator 2 from the movie Terminator, the Russian infantry support vehicle based on the T-72 chassis, or T-90 chassis. Basically a Bradley on steroids. But yeah, that's so what have we been up to this week. It's been a really normal, dull, tedious week for me, which is always good. A week where nothing too exciting happens is always a good week in my book. Work. Went for a bit of a bike ride, nothing too long. It was about 20 odd miles. Yeah, 20 miles, something like that. More work, water changes. Watching random guff on YouTube. Napping, walking the neighbour's dog. Yeah, pretty much sums up my entire week, really. Not the most exciting life I lead, I know, but I don't like exciting. Exciting means there's too much going on, and I don't like that. I like a quiet life. Well, I did have something turn up this week that's interesting. Well, interesting if you're a cyclist, anyway. And then only if you're a bit of a nerdy cyclist. Lightweight inner tubes. Because, you know, they're lighter and they're a lot smaller and easier to pack when you're carrying stuff about. So, for example, if I go on one of my longer rides, anything over about 5 miles, I'll take at least one inner tube spare in case of puncture. Anything over about 20, I'll take 2 spare inner tubes in case I get 2 punctures. Touch wood. I've only had 2 punctures since I had the bike. But, you know, they never happen at a good time. You never get a puncture just as you're about to get home. You always get the puncture when you're as far away from home as possible, or when the heavens open and it absolutely heaves it down with rain. So it's those. So again, yeah, lighter, smaller, easier to pack, take up less room. Yeah, all good things. Although they do have Presto valves, so I do need to get myself some of the possibly the worst named product on the face of the planet. Some rim hole converters. Yeah, not a good name, but I mean, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's just a spacer that goes in the hole in the wheel so that the valve doesn't waggle back and forth and rub up against the sharp edge on the wheel, causing a puncture. Yeah, there's those. And then, yeah, eventually, he says, probably next month now, I'll get some new tyres as well. Some nice posh ones. Ones that are about 5 times the price of the ones that are on the bike currently that came with it. So, should be an improvement. May get more punctures as the tyres will be lighter and thinner. But because they're lighter and thinner, it'll be easier to cycle. They'll have a lower rolling resistance. Yeah. Just better all round. And more grip as well. Although in theory they will wear out quicker. But I'm not exactly going crazy on my bike, so it's mostly straight up and fairly flat. Don't do a huge amount off-road on it, and it's not a mountain bike, so I wouldn't anyway. And I don't do skids and stunts and stuff. There's been the occasional slight skid where I've had to lock the brakes up to stop in a hurry, but that's usually down to car drivers not paying attention or pedestrians not paying attention. On Saturday on the way to work, I had to slam on the anchors hard going around a corner, which is never a good thing. Because 2 little girls had their ice creams and they walked across the road without looking. And yeah, I nearly ran one of them over. But I didn't, so no harm, no foul. And they will learn not to do that in future because, you know, they got scared. Ooh. And now all the notifications come through. So Bob's and Mice Babies turned up. Drax done a video on the G14 and G15 carriers. Andrew went live. Benno Charter has had a dangerous water change in an African cichlid tank. Bobo Ellie Buns have said good morning. Drax done a dry dock. And the Funky Chunky Monkey has been live. And now a whole bunch more of them will come through. And hopefully some more people will turn up shortly as well. Because while I am quite good at rambling on for considerable lengths of time, it does help if there's a conversation going. Or I can go down some really nerdy, tedious rabbit holes quite easily. Oh yes, and now I don't really do Facebook anymore. I've taken to upsetting people on Reddit instead. It's even easier. When Reddit fish keepers tell me how many bristlenoses I can put in a tank. You don't really realise who you're talking to, do you? I'm not at the moment, well actually maybe still at the moment, but numbers are quite low at the moment, so I might not, but historically I usually have more bristlenose placos in stock than the largest UK wholesaler does, so there's that. And even though it's been a quiet year regarding fish and invert sales, I've sold well over 1,000 bristlenoses this year as well, so there's something to do there. I might have an idea what I'm talking about when it comes to bristlenose placos. Just a little. Yeah, that's always fun. Tampa Tom bought a new dirt bike, been terrorising the neighbours. Good. Good to see you. Good to see you here. Good to see you getting out and about. And I mean, a dirt bike is another way to destroy grass. So you know, keeping up the general theme of the mad mower. Although similar but completely different. I did see a video the other day where Sam Pilgrim, who is a world-renowned mountain biker, he likes doing silly and strange things, and he took the wheels off a mountain bike and replaced them with two 20, I want to say 26-inch, might have been 28, circular saw blades. So yeah, he was riding around on circular saw blades. I'm glad I don't live where he lives, because that would probably have made a mess of everything he rode across. Bloody loud as well. Cool, but you definitely don't want to crash, because you know, it's painful enough when a rubber tire hits you, but you come off and your tires are spinning circular saw blades, that's not going to end well. Yes, rip up that grass. I mean, probably not these days, but yeah, you can't beat a two-stroke dirt bike engine for noise and smoke and whatever. I mean, four strokes are fairly cool, but two strokes are always better. Yes, you should look it up. Yeah, love the smell of a two-stroke in the morning. Unfortunately, I can't smell it, but I really used to enjoy riding two strokes over four strokes. There's just something about that top-end power delivery. At the bottom end, it couldn't pull the skin off of a rice pudding or a custard. But top end, it would pull your shoulders out of their sockets. And yeah, hit the bow, hit that power band and just hang on for dear life and change up gears almost as fast as you can, because accelerating from a standstill on a two-stroke, 5 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour, 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour, 35 mile an hour, 40, 45, 50, 55, 50, all while leaning on the front end to try and keep the front wheel down while you're trying to change gears. And yeah, good fun. And by the time you look up, you're doing 70, 80 mile an hour, and you've got to hit the brakes again because you've got to the next set of traffic lights. Or if the road's wet, you had to brake about 100 yards before where you started braking because, you know, no grip. Or was that just my bike? Don't run slick tyres on normal roads, okay? It's not a good idea. Probably get away with it today, or where Tom is, because it's hot enough for the slicks to actually work, but most of the time in the UK, it's not warm enough for slick tyres to, you know, work, especially on normal roads with the gravel and the grass and the diesel and the oil, and yeah. And all the lovely road furniture like drains and manhole covers that just get really slippery. People in cars don't know that or don't notice it. If you're on two wheels and you hit a manhole cover in the rain or a drain cover in the rain, you know about it. It's sort of like, whoa. Yeah, do kind of miss my old Yamaha, but I think these days I'm probably a bit too old to be hurtled around on motorbikes. I'm at the age now where when I fall off, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt for a long time. When you're younger, stuff heals a lot quicker than it does when you're older. And when you've already got as many outstanding injuries as I have, it's very easy to aggravate them. Yeah, 2 strokes. Get some pootaline in that tank and make it sound like you're tearing sheet metal in half. So, what was it? 2 more weeks now. 2 more weeks and I've got a week off. Yay! New manager starts this week as well, so that's going to be interesting at work. A new manager starting, and 3 of my shifts this week out of 4 I'm on with him. Well, I suppose I'll get to see what he's like. Especially as it's the closes, and that normally means there's only 2 of us for the last 3 hours of the shift. So that'll be fun. I'll just be a good boy and do my job like I'm supposed to, and make sure I'm not like standing around doing nothing or just surfing Amazon looking for things to buy. Yeah, usual stuff. Yeah, set a good example for your new boss. It's always a good plan. Because if you set a good example and other people don't set a good example, then that first impression does count. And if you set a good first impression and you kind of stay there, people that don't, they tend to be the ones getting moaned at. And I'd rather not be the one getting moaned at and getting in trouble. So hopefully, I have met him once and he seemed okay, so we shall see. And we got a new assistant manager starting at some point, a new supervisor. Basically, half our management, well, 3/4 of our management team have gone, and one of our grunts at my level. So yes, going to have lots of new people to get to know and introduce to my sense of humour and my ability to swear. Well, thankfully, I'm not the one that tends to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I've got a female colleague who does that. Looks like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Anytime she actually swears or says anything iffy, guarantee that's when a customer will walk in and she won't have seen them. This week we were talking about Rolf Harris, and she shouted, "Pedo!" just as a woman and a small child walked in. I had to go around the corner and basically die. It was just such bad timing. It was unreal. But there we go. What else have we got to talk about? As there don't appear to be many people around today. Is Craig still live? Possibly. I know Craig was on earlier. But we shall see. If people turn up, I shall carry on. If people don't turn up, then sorry. I'm not saying I've got better things to do. I've got other things to do. As much as I might sound like I'd like to talk to myself for 2 hours, I really would rather not. Because my stomach is empty and I need something to eat. And I'm hot and I'm wearing too much clothes. And my hay fever's playing up as well, so that doesn't help. Probably got something to do with the fact that me and Mary went for a walk for about an hour and a half around Thetford Forest earlier, so probably got quite a lot of pollen in me in places you don't want pollen, like your nose and your eyes and your mouth. Which is why it currently feels like I've been welding without welding mask on. I'm trying not to itch my eyes, but clear the gunk out of the corners. At least that's some pollen coming out. And yes, I have taken antihistamines. I've been taking at least one a day for about the last 3 months. Some days it's been double dosing, especially if I'm going for a long bike ride. And no, they don't send me to sleep, which is kind of annoying. Because I hear some people say, "Oh, if I can't take antihistamines, if I take one of them, then it will send me to sleep. I always be really drowsy." I'm like, yes, please. I must be the only person who takes a sleeping tablet and doesn't feel sleepy. I must be that one person who gets that side effect of sleeping tablets. They may cause drowsiness. Yeah. I either sleep or I don't. I've been on sleeping tablets in the past for my insomnia. Yeah, it didn't really do much. I will admit, when I did get off to sleep, I did sleep longer. I kept was pretty zombified on them, so I tried to avoid taking them unless I'd had like a couple of bad nights, and then I'd take one. But yeah, so the 30-day prescription lasted me a few months. And then I just gave up on it. And I was like, well, if I'm going to not sleep well anyway, even if I take them, I may as well not take them. Pamela, how are you, my darling? What accents? I do not have an accent. Well, actually, I do. And these days, it's getting worse and worse. I'm getting more and more of a Norfolk accent. Eureba, bit close. Yes. Normally, if I'm fairly awake, my accent doesn't get too bad. But if I get tired or I'm speaking to people with a Norfolk accent, then I get not broad Norfolk accent, because a broad Norfolk accent, you would all need subtitles on to understand me. I know some of you do have the subtitles on. Okay, I know there are some people who watch my videos with subtitles. I honestly didn't think my accent was that bad. It's not like I'm Glaswegian or something. But how are you, Pam, my love? Hope all is well. And you're not missing Mario too much. I know we all are, because he's a very special boy. Tried subtitles, he said, what the hell? That probably happens. I probably drop too many letters for most subtitles algorithms to actually figure it out. And this is me trying to be careful and speak properly. I'm back when I was like 7 or 8, 9 years old, maybe 10 years old even. I was pretty much one of the stereotypical British accents, the received pronunciation. Pardon me. But the older I've got, the lazier my accent's got, and the more letters I drop. T's and H's just don't exist, pretty much in my book. My alphabet is 24 letters long at most. Unless I'm speaking Welsh, and then it's about 6. Yeah, it's just we change as we grow. I've been in Norfolk long enough now that I'm getting proper Norfolk back. Today, officially old and dirt. Well, happy birthday, Pam. Dare I ask? Because then, at least then I will know how old dirt is. Ooh. Yeah, I'm not gonna go near that joke. However, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pam. Happy birthday to you. Hello, Debs. How you doing? Everyone say hello to Pam. Well, at least you're not 70 yet, Pam. And you're still not as old as Bob. So, there is that. Bob went to school with Methuselah and Job. So, rumor has it Bob was one of the first people to translate the Bible into Jewish. risque. And I know Bob's not going to be upset at any age jokes I throw his way. He'd probably be more upset if I didn't, to be honest. So there we go. I'm still waiting for Bob to start doing audiobooks, because then I will sleep like a baby. So yeah, Bob, if you're listening, if you could please start doing audiobooks of Victorian horror, just perfect. Just saying, I'm sorry I called you old. I thought you knew. I'm going to remember that one, and not just for Bob. For anyone who gets upset when I make a joke about their age. Good evening, Andrew. How the devil art thou? And Donna, if she's there. Yes. Yeah, we're just winding up Pam about it being her birthday. Was everyone just waiting until I stopped singing before they came in? Is that it? Because I can sing again if you like. Or you can just listen to next door's dog barking. Because kind of unfortunately, on my behalf anyway, fortunately on my neighbour's behalf, since his wife passed, he's now started getting out a bit more and going out and doing things. Problem there is when he leaves, little Pippa barks at everyone and everything that walks past, or just because she feels like barking. So the soundtrack to a lot of my life lately has been a Lazarazzo barking. Are you following me? I will be on Saturday. Ooh. That'll be a good view then, Andrew. Do we have a meetup going on? Ah, that'll be awesome to see. Are you going to be doing some videoing of Debs' tanks? I hope so. As you get confused with what fish are which. Hey, all goldfish look the same to me. They're either a comet or they're a fancy. That's as far as I go. I can identify black more, but that's about it. The rest of them all just pretty much look the same, other than the wiggle butts, the ones without a dorsal fin. Doing a charity event starting Saturday for Deb's grandson. Oh, bless. Well, hopefully you raise lots and lots and lots of money. Am I working Saturday? Am I working this week? Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, I am working Saturday, unfortunately. Because otherwise I would definitely be there. I'm expected to be going to a colleague's leaving do this week, because she's leaving to go to Australia to be a pig farmer, of all things. Not like there aren't enough pig farms around here. She wants to do hot, dusty and sunny pig farming. But yeah, they're doing her leaving do on a day when I'm working late. So it all depends on how I feel after my shift as to whether I pop in and say hello and goodbye. Because we all know what I'm like, and after 6 hours of humaning, I'm not necessarily in the mood to human anymore. No, especially when it's humaning and I've had to be polite and nice to people. I don't just mean the customers. Yeah, so by the time I get home, it'll be like 20 past 8. By the time I've got at least changed my t-shirt and whatever, I mean, 1:30. By the time I go around the meetings, it'll be 9:15. Yeah, it would just be a hi, bye. Yeah, humaning is overrated. Everyone goes on about how we're supposed to be like, circles of friends and social animals. I don't think we are. I don't think we're meant to be social. It might just be me that I don't like people. And it's not I don't like people. I like my own space and my own time. And for some people, that could be an hour a day is plenty enough, or half an hour a day is enough. And for me, it needs to be, 16 hours a day. Whipsus! How you doing, you dirty old tanker? Good to see you. Individually, people are okay because then you can sit and you can have a sensible conversation, and ideas pass back and forth, and you can learn and all that good stuff. There's a whole bunch of people around. It just gets really annoying. I'll say there are very good reasons why Mary and I don't live together. It's not because we don't like each other, because we do. We love each other dearly. But we've been together 8 years and we've not had a single crossword or argument. Right, so that tells me we're doing something right by not being under each other's feet all the time and annoying each other. I should get annoyed with how untidy I am and the weird hours I can keep just by whenever I wake up or happen to fall asleep. I know I'd get annoyed with house. I mean, she's not OCD house freak tidy thing, but she likes things tidy and where they should be. So I would probably annoy her rather when I just come walking in the door, coming home from work and drop trowel. So, shoes off, shorts off, t-shirt off, sit in the armchair. That's me pretty much done for the night then. It's not like take them off and fold them up and put them somewhere. It's literally undo the belt, undo the shorts, and just let them drop. Normally just grab and hold my backy tin and phone at the same time so they don't drop. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Also with my alarming propensity to block the toilet as well and produce foul smelling gases. Yeah, it's probably best. It's for the best that we don't live together. Also means we don't have to find a house big enough for the two of us and the two kids. Or maybe once the kids are moved out and they've stayed moved out, then we might think about it. But even though I still think we'd probably go with separate bedrooms. Not because we don't want to sleep together, but because neither of us like being hot in bed. But we have different temperatures we're comfortable at. I snore. I do a good starfish impression when I'm in bed. And so I get up at weird hours as well. So Now, she's got to be up at work for 6, and I'm waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then going back to work or going back to sleep at like 9 o'clock. it's not going to work well. Plus, wet carpets. What happens when you keep fish? No matter how careful you are, you will occasionally slop some water on the carpet or the floor, whatever you got. Now, it's not too bad if you're refilling a tank and it's some clean water, but when it's how can we put it, a bucket full of pleco poop and you just slop some of that on the floor, it's not so good. Is it still hot out there? Yes. So I'm just working out when to open the back door. Not my personal back door, but the back door there, to get some cooling air in. At the moment, I think it's still hotter outside than it is inside, so we'll leave it shut. Keep the heat outside while we can, because UK houses are designed to hold heat, not get rid of it. Our windows are sold on the how well insulated they are front. Part of the building codes these days is you have to have X amount of inches of insulation in the loft, and cavity wall insulation has to be a certain density, and all these kind of things. Yeah. So yay. It means our houses get really hot in the summer, but they stay warmer in the winter, which is a good thing. So you learn the tricks of how to keep your house cool. Keep everything closed, and close all the doors and the windows and the curtains during the heat of the day. Then as it starts to cool down, you gradually open things up again. Even to the point where if it gets much warmer, I will be lifting the loft hatch so that heat can go up and go into the loft or the attic or whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately, we don't have basements, because if we did, I would probably have a bedroom in the basement so I could sleep in a cool part of the house. As it is, I sleep downstairs anyway. Whips driving about, so a blanket cheers and hello to everyone. Yeah. So what else we got to talk about? Me grumbling about the weather. Nothing really interesting happened this week, other than getting new inner tubes, which, let's be honest, no one else is remotely interested in. Anyone interested in lightweight inner tubes for bikes? No, yeah, didn't think so. So then Mary and I went for a walk this afternoon, and wasn't a huge amount of wildlife about. No, there was some birds singing and flittering about, and the occasional butterfly. A couple of cool looking beetles, part of a deer skull. That was about it. Some very, very big foxglove flowers, though. Definitely a wild type. So I'm not joking. 8-foot tall foxgloves in the middle of Thetford Forest. And I've got foxgloves in my garden, and they get 4 or 5 foot. So the wild cultivar is actually bigger than a domesticated version. Yeah, it was just like half a deer's jawbone, nothing spectacular. Which did make me wonder, what the heck is there around here that will eat a deer? maybe the rumours about big cats being loose in the area are actually true. Um, I'm not joking. There are. I've not seen them, but there's enough people who have seen something, and we're a rural farmery type community historically. There's a whole bunch of townies that are moving in now, and that's kind of changing, but most of the people can identify a house cat or something the size of a sheep or a pig or a cow from whatever range they see it at. So when people are saying they've seen a very big cat a couple of 100 yards away, you're like, okay. Then you start finding deer with their throat missing and all sorts. There's probably a couple around here. And I'm going with it was a road accident, road traffic collision. There's a baby Highland cow on the side of the A11 at the moment. I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, there's a Highland cow calf just crunched on the side of the road. First time I drove past it, I was like, is that a bloody lion? It looked right colour, but it is apparently a baby a Highland cow calf. Kind of a shame because they're very cute. And Highland cattle tend to be very friendly as well. They do like a fuss. One spotted the Loch Ness Monster in Lake Coniston. That's enough talk about the X. Yep. Furry faced cows. Yes, they're the ones where they're just furry all over. Furry and horny. Yeah. I was going to go somewhere really dark with that, but I won't. Yeah, very cute cows. And so they like a fuss and being hand fed, which is a shame. So it's a shame that one is an X cow. And there are certain things I'd rather see dead on the side of the A11. I refer you to Andrew's previous post. No, not the Loch Ness Monster, the X. Ouch. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she never watched a single video on my channel anyway, and probably doesn't even realize I have a YouTube channel. Got a pub called the Hairy Cow with the logo being a Highland. Again, I'm going back to X's. Oh, we got a pub in a town called the Cock. It's a fairly common pub name, but it's just one of those that yeah, I'm not going to go into somewhere called the Cock. I have actually been in there once before and it wasn't great. And we do have like the Griffin Hotel and the London Tavern, which are probably at least several hundred years old, if not 1,000. So they'd be far more interesting, because even if being in a pub is boring, you've at least got something historical to look at and research while you're in there. And if they weren't like on the high street, I would probably do a video on them, but don't really want to be standing on the high street for a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, going through the history of a building and what might and might not have happened there. with people walking past. Because as anyone who's tried to film a video for YouTube in public knows, you can guarantee that someone will either ask you what you're doing, ask you if you have permission to do it, tell you can't do it, complain about you filming someone or something that you shouldn't. If they're young, they're just going to swear loudly as they go past just because it's funny. Thankfully, the worst one I had for that was a couple of kids who came past and blew a raspberry. And I'm like, they thought that was going to cause a problem in one of my videos, a farty sound. Yeah, they don't watch your channel. It sounds like when you fly a drone. Yeah. So I've not done droney because, editing. Got another pub called Pig Mines that's ironically vegan. Yeah. Thankfully, we don't have vegan pubs. There are vegetarian, vegan restaurants. They don't tend to last too long. They tend to sort of, maybe in London or the bigger cities they might last, but there was one that tried to start up in Attleborough and they didn't really do very well. It's not because the food was bad. It's just that, when you go out for a meal, if you're not a vegan, you actually want to eat meat. So going to a restaurant where they don't use milk, eggs, butter, meat, fish. No. The beer is good. I'll withhold judgment. Because I have had some American beers. Now, I'm not saying I've had like craft beers or good beers. But I've had all like the brand name ones, shall we say. And I've had the American versions because I've got them off of RAF Lakenheath or Mildenhall, which are local American air bases, still owned by the RAF though. So, you see, I've had the actual American versions and yeah. Why is there so little alcohol in American beers and why are they so small? Yeah, I mean, it's just a general thing anywhere that popular name brand beers aren't great. Generally, if it comes in a can, it sucks. Is pretty much a good rule. So about the only name branded beers that I ever liked were Newcastle Brown Ale and Guinness. The other ones I liked were all more of the not boutique, what's the word? Craft beers, far less of it made, but far more attention paid to it while it's being made. And I think, what was it? There's a Coors Banquet beer that I had once. I did some work on someone's radio control car and they gave me a 24 pack of Coors. I was like, oh, cool. I can get drunk today then. Apparently not. Howdy, Dixie. How you doing? Yeah, because, American beer is really low alcohol. Yeah. exactly. It's the same with anything. The more you pay, the better it is usually. What gets me though is when people are buying expensive vodka, uh, and I don't mean a Smirnoff, although they'll do it with Smirnoff. They'll buy a Grey Goose or something like that, and then they'll mix it with something. It's like, no, you just paid that much for Grey Goose because it's good. The reason people mix vodka with other stuff is because they bought cheap vodka and it's not good. Oh no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do well on American beers, and Andrew. Pick up a 4-pack of Dragon's Milk with the same as I need a 24-pack of Miller Lite. Yeah, well, I mean, Miller Lite you don't bother drinking, do you? You just open it and pour it straight down the toilet because that's pretty much all that's going to happen. Yeah, I drank that. I don't know what 330ml bottles, or were they 500s? I think they were 330ml bottles, but yeah, I sat there and drank all 24 of them, and I wasn't even wobbly, let alone drunk. I thought, well, that was a waste of time. Mind you, at the time I did have an alcohol problem. That might explain it. Morrison's used to sell 4 cans of bitter for £1. Yep, Sainsbury's were the same. The bitter or the lager, 4 cans for £1. So low alcohol and so nasty that it's just, why even bother making it? Nobody buys it. I mean, if you got that much of an alcohol problem that you just need cheap booze to get you drunk, that's what special brews for, or diamond white cider. You know, you could back then you could buy a 2 litre bottle of diamond white for a couple of quid, and it was like 15% alcohol. You could get wrecked for a couple of quid. That was great. Yeah, slugs are like any beer. Although if you're trying to trap slugs and they don't like the beer, you know it's bad. But yeah. And howdy Linkbot, how you doing? Yeah, thankfully I don't have a slug problem in my garden, mainly because of the frog problem and the birds. Yeah, the frogs and the birds basically eat all the slugs. Makes my life easier. I mean, admittedly, you know, you'd never tell if there was anything in there anyway, because it's a mass sea of nettles and brambles at the moment. I will get on top of it at some point. Anyone know if there's a snail trap that works in an aquarium? I have one right here. Glass bowl. Stick it in the aquarium. Stick some algae wafers or a piece of veg in there. Leave it overnight. Get up in the morning, take it out. Throw all the snails out. Put it back in again. If you can remember. And if you've not got anything in the aquarium shrimp wise or very small fry wise or egg wise, yo-yo loaches. Dogfight ahead. Old school porters are 15, dragons is 11, Miller Lite is 4. I don't think it's made anymore, but there was a Norfolk beer. Yeah, that'll work fine with getting bladder snails. Just be a little careful because there may well be some shrimp still in the And you can just use a saucer or a dish or anything, just something that the bait goes on. Unfortunately, with shrimp, they eat the same things as snails. But shrimp are a little bit quicker at getting away than snails are. Yeah, because I have snail issues in some of my tanks. I say some. There are certain tanks I have snails in that I don't want them in. But I'm gradually getting on top of it. It's the trumpet snails. They're a problem because when they realise there are yo-yo loaches in the tank, they all hide under the substrate, so the loaches can't get them. And the ram swallows just tend to end up everywhere anyway. So now I do my water changes in such a routine that I do the ones that haven't got snails in first. Like that one there, there's no snails in there. So I'll water change that one first so I don't inadvertently drop some in it. And then I'll do the fry rack last, because if you want to see snails, there's many snails in there. There's the occasional bladder snail that will show up in the shell dweller tank, but they normally kill them. So, I mean, if you want to see snails, let's see if we can see just a few. Just a few. Mostly snails. The only snails. Very few in there actually. Oh, and there's the newbies. The Puncius titayas. Otherwise known as the cherry barbs. I think I've got 4 males and 1 female. Then I say absolutely no snails in there, because those guys kill them all. And then I've managed to get rid of them. Well, I say there's no snails in there. There are some very large nerites, but that's it. And, oh, there you go. Which one are you? That's Ernie. Hello, Ernie. Are you being a bit derpy today, are you, buddy? Hey? Yeah, just a few limia. You know. I like Shelleys. Yeah, I'm fortunate I've got very hard water, so it's literally just add rocks, add sand, add shells, add Shelleys. And that's pretty much it. Oh, there's Doug. And the little ones you might be able to see, they're the Amicus Splendens. And that one is Shrimp Overflow Tank. And then another one over there, and 2 more over there. So, howdy Homer, how you doing? Yes, I've got a few tanks. I was actually thinking about doing a video on how little it actually costs electric wise to run a fish tank. So I think it gets a little bit blown out of proportion about how much it costs. I've seen many a post where it's like, I want to get a fish tank, I want to keep a better, but I don't want, you know, will my electric bill go sky high? Like, no. Mandy Pandy. How the devil are you? Manda pandu doo 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 doo, manda pandu doo 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 doo, manda pandu doo 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 doo. And 3, 2, 1, the hate is going to come at me. Yeah, fish tank Tetris is, yeah. I'm trying to avoid it if I can. Have a good and wit. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And shake those luscious locks out. I like you're in a L'Oreal advert. Because you're worth it. Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid tank Tetris, moving too much stuff about and shifting things and what have you. Yeah. Trying to get the number of active tanks down a bit, not for the electric bill, for the sheer fact of water changes. But yeah, so if you run them without electric, then I would say yeah, but bigger water changes. But 5 litre jars isn't exactly a big water change, is it? That's yeah, I haven't got any betters at the moment. If I do get some, maybe some embellis, but I'd have to set up a soft water tank first for them. Unless the Nanakara go the route. They're looking happy and healthy, and Missy Kara's got her colours on again. Should be up doing water changes now, waiting for the lights to go on. As good an excuse as any, I use the same excuse. Which unfortunately is I tried to do mine on a Monday or a Monday and a Tuesday, depending on work. I tend to have to do them when the lights are off, which can be a bit of an issue if you're like trying to desnail a tank and you can't actually see anything. But as I was off Monday, Tuesday this week, I did do fairly in-depth, good water changes and degunks. Connect normal marine tanks to one sump, so only one tank to water change. Lazy bot now. Yeah. I mean, I've got it down to a fine routine, so it only takes a few hours to do all of them. But that's still a few hours. Then you hear people with their one better tank and they're complaining about how much time it takes to look after it. Exactly. Not lazy, it's energy efficient. That's the way I see myself. I'm not lazy, I'm energy efficient. Work smarter, not harder. My body may be broken, but my brain still works fairly well. So if I can use that to save that having to do work, it's less painful. I think I've got it down to, I think 16 buckets a week at the moment. I'm hiking about into the kitchen sink. So I reckon if you were to go to wherever my drains run into, which is probably Thetford Waters, probably Thetford Treatment Works, Maybe Norwich. Be one of them. There's probably ramshorn snails, cherry shrimp, and bristlenoses living there. Probably some live bearers as well. Well, I know lots of shrimp have gone down the sink over the years. Because it's only really been this year that I've gone, well, I mean, it was just by luck. I was water changing a shrimp tank and I noticed a shrimp in the water. I was like, oh, put the plug in quick and pull the shrimp out. So now I look really closely and you'd be shocked how many shrimp I can be pulling out every week. I mean, admittedly, mostly only tiny babies, but when you're breeding them and selling them, that's money. And when you're pulling up to 20, 25 shrimp a week out of the sink, that have come out with the water, well, not necessarily the water, it's usually the filter sponges. They're usually in amongst the sponges and the floss and what have you in the filter. So, yeah. When you clean them out every week, you get a whole bunch of shrimp come out with them. And I know there's thousands of snails have gone down the sink and probably dozens of bristlenoses at this point. Probably guppies, platies, mollies, limia. Some of them will survive. Yeah, the more water, the more stable. Yes. But that's not something I seem to have issues with, is stability in my tanks. But then I have a stable water change routine, so they tend to stay within a certain parameter. The only one that might fluctuate a bit is the black water tank, which the Nanacara are in. Sorry, the Nanacara are in. Try not to pronounce that as one word. And that's purely because some weeks, if the weather's really nasty, I might, or I'm in a bit of a rush, I might not worry about going out to the water, but getting water out of that, filtering it all to get rid of any gunk that's fallen into it, or bits and nasties. They might just get water straight out the tap, which will be 3 higher on the pH scale. Next, the water out of the water butt is usually about 5.5 pH, and my tap water is about 8.2. Yeah, just top up for evaporation. The only ones I really notice the evaporation in are the fry tanks. But that's because they've got the least well-fitting lids on them. It's like the fluval flexes, you just got the one little feeding hole in the top, and the lovefish panoramas, we've just got a couple of gaps at the back where the hinges are. There's no gaps at all in that thing at the lid. But yeah, the fry rank tanks have all got 3 fairly large cutouts in the lid, so, and air running through them, so they get quite a bit of evaporation. I mean, they all filled up so you couldn't see the water level on Monday, and they've all dropped at least half an inch, if not more. So, yeah. So thankfully I don't get too much evaporation, although when I had the light go out on one of the flexes, so I just lifted the lid and used a light like I've got on that tank, which you can't really see, it's just a bog standard light, so I just stuck that on it, and the evaporation was noticeable. I was dropping at least an inch in a week, and that was in cool weather. So warmer weather, it would drop a lot more. Yeah, so evaporative cooling is very effective. Fans blowing over them. Opposites to the problem I have. Well, not really. Coming up to the time of year where my tanks will get hotter. We're at the kind of temperature at the moment where the heaters just don't kick on because it's warm enough. Whereas in the winter, the heaters kick on far more regularly, where then I use the fish tanks as the heating for my house. So although it might go from 5p an hour to 20p an hour, or 5 cents to 20 cents an hour to run all the tanks and everything else I've got running in the house, yeah, there's no heating bill on top of that. So yeah, when you look at it, it really doesn't cost much to run a fish tank. You're probably looking at pennies a day. And if it's, say, a small better tank with a little LED light, 25-watt heater, and a little filter of some description, a couple of pence or a couple of cents a day to run it. Literally boil the kettle or microwave a cup of water and you've used more energy than it would take to run the fish tank all day, probably all week. 21C all year round. Yeah, mine gets down to sort of mid-teens, so 15, 16 in the winter in here. But then summertime it will get 30 odd, which is really not pleasant. But I try not to get the fan out if I can help it, because while the breeze is quite nice from the fan, as soon as you turn it off, you cook. And all it's doing is blowing hot air around, really. It doesn't actually cool anything. You just think it does because it evaporates the sweat from your skin quicker. And come night time and you want to go to sleep, and it's actually warmer than it was during the day, so I prefer to take different actions to keep things cool, like keeping the curtains and the windows and the doors closed to keep the heat out. And then when it's cooler, I open things up. So actually, it's probably cooled down enough now outside. I shall open the back door. No. Yeah, it's cooler outside than inside now, so opening the door will cool things down. Oh, that feels better already. That's probably just because I stood up and the sweat on my butt started evaporating. Yeah, because this camping chair doesn't actually have a mesh back to it, so I've got no ventilation. I did prefer the old one that had the ventilation, but it kind of got too old and collapsed. 21C's F. Warm. Yeah. 21C is about the maximum comfortable temperature for a human being. Any warmer than that is hot. And when you get about 20 degrees below that, it's cold. Yeah, year-round average for me is probably about 21 degrees in my house. Which is still too warm. Yeah, I sleep far better at about 10 degrees than I do at 20. So I always laugh, but you see the reviews of camping equipment. They go on about sleeping bags, and this is a 3 season, this is a 4 season, this is a 2 season. This one's rated to this temperature. Yeah, no, it's not. It's rated to what someone who doesn't like being cold is liking. Because the sleeping bag I use when I went camping is rated to be comfortable down to 15 degrees. Well, it was 8 degrees, and I wasn't in a tent. I was under a tarpaulin, and I still got too hot. Make of that what you will. Although that might be more to do with the fact that I was wearing clothes. If it gets over 22C, start calling AC repair people and freaking out because I don't do heat well. I live in Texas. Yeah, well, you are a redhead, and we know redheads and heat is a bad combination. I mean, your hair goes frizzy, then your skin goes beet red, and it's just not a good combination. You need to move somewhere colder and wetter, like Ireland, where most of the redheads come from, actually. Ireland and Scotland. Cold and wet, that's where redheads do well. If you were a fish, you'd be more of a goldfish than a ram, let's put it that way. I'm the same. Very little built in. The trick to that is just not to shower so often. Just let the dirt build up. That protects you. I mean, I am starting to get a bit of colour. Doesn't look like it, but yeah. I was out in the sun Wednesday for what, 2.5 hours, something like that, which is way too much. And I did get caught out. I did have to go number 2 on a bike ride, which is not good. However, thankfully, I had a dog poop bag in my pocket. Build a protective crust. Sharpe would love that. He'd probably prefer that than you getting sunburnt and complaining about the heat. Just saying. Sometimes we like a bit of a dirty girl. Yeah, this thing where people feel they need to shower once or twice every day or they're dirty. No, you're not. But I smell. No, you don't. You just don't smell of soap or products. You just smell like a normal human being. Sweat is not BO. It is perfectly acceptable to smell sweaty on a hot day. Look at the end of summer like a surfer. Need a vacation. Ocean vacation. I think I'd prefer an oxen vacation. Oxen sound far more fun than oceans. Some of my least favorite vacations or holidays as a child were where we went and basically sat on a beach all week. My God, is that boring. First day you build a sandcastle. Then you go looking for shells and crabs and things. And then you realise it's just a stretch of boring ass sand and there's nothing in it alive. And you just sit there and cook for a week. Bored stiff. Amish paradise, yes. And then the beaches that most people go, oh, that beach was rubbish. It was all rocky and stony and horrible. That's the ones that stuff's living in. It's got rock pools and interesting stuff. No, you're not going to find me sitting on a sandy beach going, oh, isn't this wonderful? When I bike the Pedder's Way, the end of it is the sea. Now, I did get to the high tide line, or the spring high tide line, right? So technically I did reach the edge, but I just didn't want to walk across any more sand. I've done a couple of 100 feet and that was enough. I was like, get on the sand, right, get off the sand, get back on the bike and get away from the beach. It was that bad I chose to cycle another 12 miles rather than sit on the beach. And instead I went and sat in a wood or forest surrounded by spiders and slugs and biting insects, and that was far more enjoyable. Speaking of which, I've just about cleared up all the bites now. Beaches in Honolulu are surprisingly rocky and painful. Yeah, good beaches. Had to wear shoes. Well, yeah, of course you wear shoes on the beach. Mind you, Hawaii might be a bit different, but UK beaches you definitely wear shoes on. I like to go diving. Next time I want to go colder. I want to collect some Mediterranean animals. Yeah, it's. See, I would refer to the Mediterranean as hot. My experiences of the sea are the English Channel, the North Sea, and the Pacific. Oh, sorry, the Atlantic, not the Pacific. Weird. Well, the Irish Sea, technically. Yeah, I don't know. Cornwall might be the Atlantic. North Devon coast would be Bristol Channel, so Irish Sea. Yeah. Basically just the seas around the UK. And then I don't go in the sea because, water, bad. And back when I was a kid, the seas around the UK were notoriously dirty. Plenty of lesser spotted logfish going around. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, the UK beaches, again, they're better now, but back then, broken glass, bottle caps, needles. Yeah, so you wore shoes anyway. I'm just one of those where a traditional holiday or vacation, just the idea bores the hell out of me. What most will go with a lot of British holiday makers that go abroad somewhere hot and sunny, either spend 2 weeks sitting on the beach or 2 weeks or a week sitting by the pool, not really doing anything. They've gone somewhere with amazing history and culture and all sorts of different sights and sounds and tastes and smells and interesting things to do, but they want to be somewhere that sells English food and English beer, and they don't want to go too far. They don't want to be, I mean, like the woman who went to a Spanish hotel that wasn't like on a touristy place where everyone speaks English. She went to this small Spanish hotel and complained that everyone spoke Spanish. There were no other British people there. People didn't speak English. How rude of them. Try learning Spanish, love. Get you a lot further. She actually wanted her money back because her holiday was ruined because nobody spoke English and they didn't sell English food and there wasn't. Oh, God. You'll stick to going to Blackpool or Skegness or some other hole like that by the seaside. Yeah, that's the other thing. Most seaside towns tend to be absolute holes. Because for 8 months of the year, the only people there are the locals. And because there's only 4 months a year that there's any money going into the local economy, everything gets rather run down. So like the touristy bits, the bits where the holiday makers go, get looked after, right? Because that's where the money comes from. But as soon as you get off the seafront, it's an absolute dive. So yeah, I just don't go. It's a lot easier that way. I know I sound like a grumpy old curmudgeon, but it's just the way I am. Because I am. I am grumpy, I am old, and I'm a curmudgeon. I'm not as old as Bob, but, you know, no one's as old as Bob. And maybe, yeah, Sir David Attenborough is older, but he's immortal, hopefully. As, you know, the world will be a far worse place without Sir David Attenborough. Although they might then re-release some of his older series, which would be quite good. Getting hard to find places where nobody spews English. Yeah, come to Norfolk. Go up on the Norfolk coast. Nobody speaks English. They speak Norfolk. Now, spews is the correct term. Well, I did hear a good one this morning, actually. It was one of those dumb things Americans say videos, which are always kind of fun to watch. This is Americans on holiday in France. They go into a store. They ask the person running the store, "Do you speak American?" And he says, "English." And they walk out. Yeah. Oh, bless. Bless their hearts. So if I was going on a holiday or vacation somewhere foreign, I would at least try and learn some of the basic local lingo. I'm French, I'll be okay with. Spanish, a little bit I know. Maybe a little bit German as well, or Italian. You know, I'd learn a bit more, or at least get a phrase book so I could find out what I needed to say and then at least attempt to say it. Because what is generally found is if you at least attempt to speak the local dialect or local language, then they might laugh at how badly you said it, but at least you tried to say it. And that's a bonding point, right? They no longer think you're automatically an absolute arse because you've gone in there and spoken loudly in English very slowly, expecting them to understand. You can get around language barriers as long as you've got a sense of humour and you at least both try. It's amazing how far sign language will get you. And just a little bit of basic, whichever language it is. Speak German, but like to speak Austrian dialect German because Germans struggle with that. Oh, what was I said? It was a Germans were saying about not Adolf, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he's Austrian and he speaks with an Austrian accent, obviously. So to Germans, apparently he sounds like a farmer. They do well around here then. Yuriba, right? Keep me trashing. And I understand nobody understood a word of that. There are even signposts up around here in some of the small villages, or the larger villages, which will read things like "Drive you steady, ba," "Blast you a fast, ba," and "you" being spelt Y-E-W because that's how it's pronounced locally. Uh, yes. One of these days I will get around to a Norfolk dialect video. There is a channel. Oh, I can't remember her name. Suffolk something or other. But there's a channel with a woman with a very strong Suffolk accent, which obviously I understand perfectly fine because A, Mary's a Suffolk girl, and B, I've been living in the area long enough that there's enough crossover between Suffolk and Norfolk accents that you can figure it out. But yeah, if you're not local, you would struggle with the accent. I mean, even now, if there's someone who's proper broad Norfolk and they speak fast, it can take a what? Sorry, I'm going to have to pay attention to actually what you're saying closely so I can translate it to English. And yes, it is the same language, it's just completely different accents. But yeah, so if I was going to Germany, I'd at least learn the basics. Hello, how are you? Excuse me, I'm looking for, can you help me, please? Those kind of things. And then you've at least tried. And if then you have to get the phrase book out and you go, oh God, it's German, so it's all one word. It's got about 58 letters in it. But yeah, the trying does get you a lot further. Trying to speak the language, trying to not cope with, follow local customs and things like that. Bought some chameleons in Romania's backcountry. Don't speak Romanian. A good deal on them. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there was a language barrier. Not Google Translate. Geez, have you heard of roaming fees? And plus, you don't get your phone out in public, especially in touristy areas, because that's when your phone gets stolen. If you're holding a phrase book, people are a lot less likely to try and steal that, and it's cheaper to replace. Yeah, I say, so you go on somewhere, you don't speak the language, they might not speak your language, but there's enough crossover that you can communicate. And if you're pleasant, have some fun and a bit of a laugh, don't mind laughing at yourself about how bad you are at Romanian, then it all goes well. 90% of the time, especially in European countries, most people will speak English as a second language. So you can get around it. Obviously, if you speak quickly and use native English rather than the Queen's English, it can get confusing. Much like some of the things I say that basically we all speak English here, but there are things I say that some of you probably don't understand. Okay, like a hotel reservation situation, or an opinion is looking for about. I mean, yeah. If there's somewhere you're not going to, someone's not just going to walk past and go yoink, like Herxy Fisheral or Herxy Fisheri. It's going to be some kind of fish. Is that fish keeper? Is that German or Austrian for fish keeper? Something like that. Tank names and plane names I'm fine with, but that's just because of the scale modelling. So I know what a Sturmgeschütz is and a Jagdpanzer. I know what they mean and how to say them. Just. Or a Messerschmitt. And, you know, if you're careful, you get a right pair of Fokkers. Yeah, and that's where that joke from the movie Meet the Fokkers came about, is from old English jokes from World War II about German aircraft. The Fokker Wolf, FW-190, Butcher Bird. Yeah, that's where the Meet the Fokkers joke came from. It's actually an old Jim Davidson joke, and he probably stole it from somebody else. First sentence you learn in any language of a country you're going to visit should be, where is the restaurant? Où est la toilette? That's French, obviously. But you learn it properly. Excusez-moi, monsieur, madame, mademoiselle. Où est la toilette, s'il vous plaît? You add the politeness to it as well. That does go a long way. Because if there's one nationality, deep sea fishing. Ah, yes, I get it. If there's one nationality in Europe where they're not likely to speak English or they're going to refuse to, it's France. And now those of you who may not have much of a grasp of European history might think, oh, France and England are right next to each other. Why don't you get on? Why do the French not like the English and the English not like the French? There's a reason there's a thing called the 100 Years' War. Let's say Fokker, but the real world, yes. Which is probably pronounced Fucker rather than. Yeah, so yeah. The 100 Years' War, which typical Britishness is an understatement, because the 100 Years' War went on for 107 years. And I'm not joking. You can Google it or look it up. It's something like 14 times we've invaded France over the years, over the centuries, millennia. And at various points we've controlled large portions of France. So yeah, there's still bad blood there. And we like to think in the UK that the Germans hate the Brits because the Brits hate the Germans because of the world wars. Well, we don't actually, most of us. But Germans' problem is, well, Germans, we've got the French. Germany uses the Dutch as their sort of big rival, as it were. Although we get on very well with the Dutch, despite having invaded them many times as well. Yeah, it's weird. Mind you, there aren't many countries that we haven't invaded at some point. Ficker. Yes. Something like 63 countries have an Independence Day from the UK. I'm sorry to break that to you, America. You're not the only ones who celebrate Independence Day from us. There's 62 other countries. Priscilla, darling, how are you? Oh, great big hug. And a smooch as well, because why not? Don't say no to the first drink, makes sometimes fishy. Oh yeah, don't say. Yes, you got to sweeten the deal with a bit of booze sometimes. I think in that kind of situation, even I would accept a glass of wine or a glass of beer and have a bit of it, and probably promptly go and vomit somewhere. How are you, Priscilla? How is the awesome little X-Man? Not so little anymore. Hope all is well. Fist bumps. It's so international relations are actually quite easy to deal with. Just accept that they're just a person. They're no better, they're no worse. It's different culture, different language. We all find someone slipping over on ice hilarious. That's always common ground. Now, we all have common ground with everyone else on the planet. It's just finding it and accepting it. A lot on our plate. Sunday shenanigans, cleaning, and then pool time. Oh, yeah. But hopefully at some point your plate will clear a little and you can breathe, relax. Thought Sharpe was a few comments behind today. Nope, I've been 17 seconds behind for all knows how long. Pardon my likely delayed reaction time. Don't worry. Me being slow is to be expected usually. Usually it's because I'm still rambling on about the previous thing, and then someone else posts something, and someone else posts something, and then I get behind. And I'm no Rico. I don't end up like 45 minutes behind the chat, but that's because I've not got so many people chatting. Which means I can give everyone the time they deserve. And every subject the time it deserves as well. Yeah, so back with the currently doing a CNA school for exercise for my college classes for my bachelor's degree. My brain is mushy right now. I understand. I know that. Well, I don't know that feeling exactly, but I know brain mush when there's just too much going on in your head and it always goes, ah! And you just need to take a break and watch Karen videos for a couple of hours or days or weeks. Yep, Austria wasn't landlocked before World War One, or World War Two, whichever one. It's the same because it's behind the heart. Yeah, because oh yeah, going way back to Vlad Dracul days. The Austrians were at war with the Ottomans, which, when you think how far Austria and Turkey are apart these days, that shows how much bigger the two countries were at the time. Although back then it would have been Austro-Hungary, I believe. Back when Budapest was actually in Austria. Howdy, MSC. How you doing? Hope all is as well as can be expected. The whole thing with Vlad was he didn't want the Ottomans invading Transylvania. And then the Austro-Hungarians tried to friendly invade. We will protect you. And he kind of took umbrage with that as well. X got a new medical diagnosis. So he needs 24/7 assistance so I can be his nurse. Oh, bless him. I won't ask what it is because, you know, rather impolite and private. But yeah, sending him fist bumps and hugs. And you. Well, no fist bump. Yeah, you can have a fist bump if you like, but more the hugs. Yeah, I prefer to hug my gorgeous exotic ladies than fist bump them. And if you want an interesting country's history to read up on, Switzerland's is very interesting. Yeah, I get the same picture as well in my head when you speak about the Ottomans. Yeah, bunch of footstools escaping from the end of beds and charging at people. Remember Rocco? Of course, I remember Rocco. Who can forget Rocco? God, dear. Special guest on last Sunday. Awesome. So last I heard of Rocco, he was still struggling with health issues. I won't go any further than that because I can't remember the details because, you know, my memory. But yeah, hope he's doing better now. Um, that's the point. Does Jess still do the after or morning show, the aquatic morning show? Because I haven't seen a notification for that pop up for a long time. In any city you can buy kebab on almost every club. Yeah, same in the UK. Every town every town will have a kebab shop. There's one, two, three. I think there's 5 places in my town I could go and get a kebab. Whether it's a doner or a shish or whatever. I try to avoid kebabs because I don't drink. In the UK, a kebab is what you get after you've been drinking all night in the pub or the clubs, and you're on your way home, you get a kebab. That's the general thing to do. So yeah, I basically associate kebabs with throwing up, whether it be me or someone else. So yes, not especially good memories. Lawsuit against the district is still going. Eventually, there will be light at the end of the channel. Jess was in chat yesterday. She's busy with her class. As I say many a time, life happens. Things go on. It's not necessarily in our control. For example, I would love to be joining Andrew's live stream every Saturday and Graham's live stream every Sunday, but every Friday, sorry, and other streams, but work and sleep and having to do other things as well doesn't necessarily free up the time to sit and watch streams as much as I like or I would like. I do catch a few up on replay. Normally when I'll be like doing water changes or pottering around the house doing jobs. Rocco streams on Wednesday evenings, not fish related though. That's not a problem. Although I say Wednesday evenings for Rocco is Thursday mornings for me at silly o'clock. Yeah, doesn't have to be fish for me to tune in. Anyone who's been here a while knows I have a range of interests. So even if it's just having a chat and some banter, I'm fine. I ain't got a problem with that. I mean, technically this is a fish fan live stream, but how much fish talk do we actually do? I generally talk about what people in the chat are talking about. Mostly because I don't plan anything out in advance and I just wing it every week. Much like my videos. Yeah. You know, some people plan out their videos, they plan out the shots, they work on a script or at least clip notes of what they're going to say. Yeah, and then there's the bike stuff as well, Mandy, and the history stuff, and random reading horror stories. You know when I've really run out of ideas for a video when I just read a horror story and stick the camera in front of a shrimp tank. Well, I do have ideas, it's just getting around to actually filming them. Yeah, as I say, most of my videos, there's none of the planning or anything goes into them. It's just, oh, that's a good idea. I'll film a video about that. So either I know the stuff, or pretty much the only ones I do research for are species profiles, just so I've got all the info. And then like historical stuff, just so I've got the dates and the names right. Although, random one from the historical stuff, and probably no one will remember, but when I did the video on Old Buckingham Church, I can't remember what it's called, but it was founded by the d'Aubigne family of French descent. And I actually met one of their ancestors the other day. Or not their ancestors, their descendants, that's it. Had someone actually come in the shop, and the way we're working is surname and zip code, postcode. Then you can bring up their account and know what they want and that kind of thing. I was like, oh, d'Aubigne. Related to the d'Aubignes from Buckingham? Yeah. How did you know that? I did some research on the church for a video. Was that the creepy one with the hidden graves? That was a different one. I'm trying to remember one with hidden graves. There's all sorts going on in British churches. So let's talk about fish. Nysacara. Yes, they are. There is a pair in there. I say pair, they are both males or both females, one or the other. So we got camera tag up. So there we have Ernie. He's a bit more derpy. And then there is Bert. Bert is definitely slowing down in his old age. Wasn't hidden so much as grown over in the wooded areas. That can be a lot of UK churches. Especially the older graves tend to be left, not looked after, but the guy who goes around with the mower won't necessarily mow the graves that are like 400, 500, 600, 700 years old, because people tend not to visit them very often. But to me, they're the more interesting parts. The more modern stuff doesn't really interest me that much. It all tends to be very regimented, straight lines, short clipped grass. And plus, I do like to be careful. I mean, as much as I do film headstones, especially ones when the person's name is Dick Cocking, apologies to his family because they are local and still very much around. If it's a newer grave, sort of less than 100 years, I do try and avoid putting the camera on it because chances are there's still people around. And if they're local, then my video might show up on their recommendeds. So yeah, I try and avoid doing that. I'm not because I don't want to upset people and remind them that their beloved grandma passed or whatever it is. It's the same way you try not to get random strangers in your videos. It's just a respect thing. But if it's several hundred years old, chances are there aren't going to be any people around anymore. 5 loads of laundry to fold lurking. Oh dear. You have my sympathies, respect, and avoidance of a lawsuit. Well, we tend not to get that too much in the UK. But yeah, have a good one, Priscilla, and try and relax when you get a chance. Maybe a glass of vino and a bit of chocolate, because that never goes down badly. Anyway, my time is up. So thank you to everyone who showed and for being here. Hope we had an interesting time. Maybe even learned something or had a bit of a laugh. Stay safe. Have a good week. Enjoy your hobbies. Peace out. Rock on. Bye bye. Sunday shop do 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 do. Sunday shop do 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 do. Sunday shop do 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 do. Mondays suck do 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 do. Mondays